All right, everybody, welcome to the Work Hard, Play Hard podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Harding, and today we have Terry Bailey here with us, and we're excited to have him. So he is a Lehigh High School graduate. It's where my daughter goes to high school, so I have to mention that. So, Kaylee, if you're listening, a fellow alumni here. But he's been in real estate for 4 years now, right?
Yeah.
And he, has continued to basically, he was telling me his numbers, and I'm not going to try to repeat them verbatim here, but basically he's improved every year he's been doing it, which is awesome. So obviously been doing, real estate. He's loving it. I think you said your dad's a broker too, right?
Yeah.
So, okay. So obviously he's got, real estate in the blood a little bit and stuff like that. Seeing he's getting a call right now, he's important, So, Terry, tell us. Let's start. Just obviously, kind of get to know you a little bit. I already mentioned, obviously you went to Lehigh and stuff like that. But tell us about yourself a little bit. Who is Terry?
For sure. So yeah, I went to Lehigh. Played. I played lots of sports: cross country, track, soccer, anything that involved running. Really.
Sure.
And yeah, then after I graduated, I went over on my mission to Spain. We were in the Madrid, Spain mission.
Okay.
Went there, met my wife actually my last month on my mission. Good time to meet her.
Sure.
Good time to meet her there.
Sure.
And yeah, I came back and actually I got into software sales, was where I didn't really want to be in real estate. I want to have my license to invest and whatnot, but I didn't really want to be like a real estate agent. But yeah, it was in the software space. Actually, in real estate software was what I started off in.
Okay.
After doing real estate software, I went to a startup company. It's a really cool company, really cool idea. Not going to spend too much time on that, but long story short, the company was just not taking off. And I had my license. I got my license right when I came home, just to have it. So I said, hey, at that point I had my daughter, I think was like 4 or 5 months old.
Okay.
I was like, hey, it's time to double down and get busy.
Sure. Kids make you do that, right?
Yeah.
High motivation.
For sure. And I actually had a pretty slow start. With my dad, I was at my dad's brokerage, and I think I did like one deal in my first 3 or 4 months. And then I switched brokerages actually, and switched brokerages and got plugged into a good team there. And then I did, my next 6 months we did, there was like 22, 23 deals or something like that.
Awesome.
So we took off from there and then kept on keeping on.
So how many are on your team right now?
So yeah, I have a smaller team. We have 2 agents.
Okay.
We have 2 VAs, one out of Spain and one out of Mexico.
Nice.
They're both really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They still live there, so they're working remotely? Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Hey, employing the world. I like it.
Yeah, they're good folks in good areas.
So tell me, what makes you think you're being successful? Obviously you're doing well and stuff like that. What's making you success's Terry's secret?
Yeah, success is a funny concept. It's called the work hard, play hard. I don't know. I'm always a big component of freedom. I use my real estate income. I actually don't spend very much of that, and I live a pretty simple life.
Sure. And
then I just plug all the extra money into investing. Real estate investing is really what gets me going.
Gotcha.
So yeah, just buying up properties, getting some good cash flow, and I think that's really where you can play hard and enjoy it, right? Because I play hard with my earned income.
Yeah.
It's not all that fun because then it's gone.
Yeah.
If I put my earned income into other income producing assets, then I can play with the income producing assets money, so the more passive, because that's going to keep coming back whether or not I show up.
Super smart. No, I love that. And so you think then that kind of your passion for real estate, your passion for not eating your, I think that's there's a book, Richest Man in Babylon, kind of that whole not eating your eggs, right? You're putting it back in so that you can then get those, that benefit from the passive income that you're making and stuff like that. So I think that's kind of what's made you successful then. It's kind of just, really enjoying what you're doing and stuff like that, I guess.
I think so, yeah. And it's finding the people who you want to do it with. and the clients that you like to work with. Not every client's for me.
Sure.
Early on, I think we all kind of go through like, hey, I need to work with everyone.
Sure.
But I don't need to work with everyone. There's a lot of people who probably wouldn't enjoy working with me, and I probably wouldn't enjoy working with them, and that's okay. It's a lot more enjoyable when you're working with people who have similar ideas, similar mindset, and you're more aligned there.
Sure. Well, okay, so shifting gears a little here to the market, what's your forecast for the market right now? What are you seeing kind of happening with the real estate market here in Utah?
Yeah, so there's an interesting thing to look at, and it's not as readily available here in Utah as it is in other states, but it's the Consumer Affordability Index.
Okay.
It essentially takes into account what the median income is, and then takes into account what interest rates are, and then the average home price.
Okay.
Right, and then it's on a scale from like 1 to 100.
Sure.
Right, the higher. The higher it is, the more affordable it is. The lower it is, the less affordable.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So I'm always looking at that to see where things are falling in, and then figuring out what's taking place. I think a lot of people are like, "Oh, a crash." I mean, we've been hearing a crash since the last crash.
That's exactly it. Actually, since the last crash, you're exactly right. Yeah.
But if you actually look at numbers, statistics, take a look at what's taken place, right? Out of the last 5 recessions, only 2 of them really affected the housing market.
Okay.
And then understanding what the word recession means, right? It's just a fall in the GDP for 2 consecutive quarters. That's all it is, right? It doesn't mean much more than that.
No, you're right.
We've created this context of a recession is some sort of right.
Really.
For proximity purposes, we always reference 2008.
Sure.
So anyway, I think first and foremost, it's to recognize that that's not the case. And 2008 was the biggest housing crash and housing, where housing was hit since the Great Depression.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not a fair comparison. And again, I understand why people think that because due to proximity.
Sure.
But that's not the case. And add to that, like even during that, it was like a nationwide, it was like a 20% decrease in price, right?
Yeah.
Just this first quarter. And depending on where you look at, anywhere between 10 to 15% increase the first quarter of 2022. Like it's, even if we drop 20%, it's like anyone who bought in the last year, you still have positive equity.
Sure. So you mentioned the Consumer Affordability Index. So is that sitting, probably, I would assume it's less affordable than it used to be,
Yes,
and stuff like that. Is it? So it's kind of sitting a little bit high there, I guess.
So yeah, it's a little low, but yeah.
Yeah. So high. Yeah. There you go. Okay. So, but you, as far as forecast and stuff like that, still see plenty of buyers and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think I actually did a little piece on this for Fox 13, and took a 30-minute interview and compressed it down into 90 seconds.
Yeah, little soundbite, right? Yeah, you got to keep it short.
They can really make it sound like whatever.
Sure,
right?
sure. Yeah.
My overall take on it was, and I talked to, the working class.
Sure.
I mean, there's obviously a lot of institutional money out there.
Of course.
Depending on where you look, it's anywhere between one. Anyway, there's a lot, but a big number we're looking at is 1 in 4 buyers are institutional buyers,
Okay.
And that's a lot.
That is a lot.
That's a lot, and then they come in with money and they've figured out, hey, real estate is an awesome investment class, right? Because you get your depreciation on your taxes, you get your cash flow, you get your debt pay down, right?
Yeah.
So they're able to leverage that as well, and then you get your appreciation, right? Your standard as well as your forced appreciation.
Yeah.
So anyway, like they've figured out, hey, real estate's a really good place to be in, and they continue to buy stuff.
Sure.
But I think that's also important for consumers to take a look at, because you need to look at what your options are. If you don't own a home and you're like, hey, I'm waiting for some crash or something, like, yeah, maybe you're not getting into the exact home you like, and maybe you're, instead of getting this 3,000 square foot home, you're in a townhome, or instead of being in a townhome, you're in a condo.
Sure.
I still think it's better to get into something and start building up equity, because if you don't, these hedge funds, these institutional buyers, they're not going to keep your rent low.
Yeah.
Your rent's going to keep going up, and it's going to keep going up at a higher rate than than anything else. And housing prices is usually 18 months behind, or rents usually 18 months behind housing prices.
Yeah.
So, we've seen very, very big leaps in housing prices. Rents are following suit.
Yeah.
So you've got to figure out, it's not easy. In nature, it's adapt, migrate, or die. So if you don't like it, complaining is really not going to do you any good.
Sure.
And I can empathize with those situations, but you either need to adjust what you're looking for or look further. I have some clients who are now starting to, hey, I want more land, a little more space.
Sure.
So they're looking in Juab County, they're looking in Nephi, they're looking in these other areas that are a little more rural. And since they're able to work from home, it works.
Sure.
And I think that's a trend we'll continue to see. But especially here in Utah County, which is the main area I focus in, I don't see any drops in pricing coming anytime soon. But I do see the rate of acceleration, right? The rate of appreciation going down. So instead of being a sharp J curve, it'll just kind of creep up.
So still appreciation, just not as high as it's been.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
I think we'll get to a point where we'll see standard, 3-4% appreciation.
Sure. Which is healthy. That's really the trend at which it was going was not sustainable, and so but a crash, yeah, that's the thing that I think a lot of people are waiting for, but the fundamentals aren't there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As far as making that happen. So
yeah.
I also see, it's interesting you say I have seen an increase in buyers that are building, or not building, but buying homes outside of the, kind of in the more rural areas, right? Some of these smaller towns, because again, they can work from anywhere. So I wonder if we do continue to see that happen. So
yeah.
So
I'll add real quick to that.
Yeah.
I still think that people want a base close, right?
Sure,
so if my work is in Orem, for example,
sure.
I'm not going to be more than an hour away from that.
Yeah.
Just because, if I ever need to come into work or whatever comes in, I still want to be relatively close, or if work from home adjusts, I want to be able to, adapt a little bit to that.
Sure.
Or if companies say, hey, you can come in, you can work from home, but you're coming to the office once every week, once every 2 weeks, I still think that the base will continue to be very strong.
Sure. Okay. Awesome. Let's talk about your investing journey. So, obviously you've invested in real estate and stuff like that. What do you think, why is, real estate that superior investment? Why is it better? Why is it the best?
Yeah.
Or, at least a good place to put money.
Yeah. So I think there's the big four that we talked about, right? Appreciation, debt pay down, your cash flow, and your tax benefits.
Yeah.
All those things help, especially if you're a real estate professional watching this, like my real estate agents. You're able to offset some of your active income, right? Because you're a real estate professional. So you're able to, through depreciation of your real estate, you're able to offset some of your active income,
Gotcha.
which is huge. So for any real estate agents, if you're not investing, you need to be. But yeah, on top of all of that, it's just a safer asset class. At the end of the day, Tesla is a big name.
Sure.
If stuff starts to get really rough, that's a commodity at the end of the day. There's a lot of things that are commodities that will be on the chopping block before, where you live.
Sure.
And I really like your 2-bed to 3-bed configurations, whether it's fourplexes, duplexes, single family. I like that. It's just, again, on a chopping block, because there eventually will be some corrections and there eventually will be something.
Sure.
I don't see it in the near future, but eventually it's in a rough economy, people start to downsize.
Sure.
And then you really can't downsize much more than, your studio or 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom. That stuff's very, very stable. And even in 2008, the rent on those things actually went up a bit, right? Because everyone was downsizing into stuff like that.
Sure.
So supply and demand was very basic there.
Yeah.
So I really like that specific asset class. It's just, again, housing is on one of the last things on the chopping block.
Okay. Well, no, and I love real estate as an investment. And I agree. You broke it down really well with those 4 areas and stuff like that. And I think that's, stocks, for example, don't have that tax benefits, right? They might go up and stuff like that. And I think the other thing I would add is using other people's money, right? So you only invest $50,000 into a house as a down payment, but it's worth 350. The appreciation is on the whole, not just the 50,000 you invested, right?
For sure.
So it's anyhow, real estate's great. I love it. Obviously you've built, you're building or have built a successful real estate, thing. What, was that the goal? How do you set goals with your business and stuff like that? As far as just, Terry's business, how do you set goals there?
Yeah, it's a good question. I used to try to plan out, 5 years at a time, 10 years at a time. I'll be honest, even 1 year at a time, like the scopes keep shifting. I used to say, hey, if I'm making $100K a year, like, that's great.
Yeah.
My dad actually told me, he's a broker and he's done some bigger projects.
Sure.
He was the agent with the buyer who came in and actually finished Midtown 360. He's helped facilitate that transaction here in Orem.
Okay.
He's working on some bigger development projects, and he told me, Terry, you're in residential real estate, you'll probably get bored. And he's like, you can make good money, but you'll probably get a little bit bored.
Sure.
And I thought when he told me that, I'm like, if I'm making $100,000 a year, I don't care how bored I don't care how bored I am.
Yeah, I'm happy there. Yeah.
And he started making that, and then more and more and more, and I realized he was right. He was right.
Hey, Dad knows something, huh?
Yeah.
Hey, hopefully he's listening to this.
Yeah. So I was getting a little bit more bored there.
Sure.
And then, so that was it. It was right. The investments and investing in real estate is always fun ways to vary, and I do a lot of different asset classes. Right.
Sure.
We've done some house hacking. We've done some some triplexes. Helped lots of clients out on different asset classes. We do some Airbnbs, and it's fun because I get to try all these different things out, and then and then I can help my clients better because I know those.
Sure.
And now we're getting into here's probably a really big thing that I came to understand is not everyone wants to learn it, and even though I can teach all these things, there's people who have lots of money who don't. They just make good money, and so they don't want to learn how to do real estate investing. So we've gotten into more group investing.
Okay.
Very, very simply, we take really good operators and we bring them funds from people who have money, want to take advantage of real estate, but don't want to learn everything.
Mm-hmm.
And we're able to collaborate on everyone else there. So it's been,
Awesome.
That's been especially fun.
Sure.
Sorry, I didn't answer your question.
No.
Right? Your end question was how do we set goals? I don't know. It's tough to say because we just start going towards something, but we keep ourselves on our toes. So if we want to pivot into something else, we can.
Gotcha. Okay. No, hey, I liked your other answer too. You did
Yeah.
good. You're good. What about obviously a key to any business I think is retaining clients, right? So hopefully it's not a one and done transaction. You're trying to keep those clients, right? For life, or at least for several transactions, right? So, what are you doing to kind of show your clients that you care?
Yeah, great question. I think you're right. A lot of people are just looking for a paycheck. For me, I don't know. I've just never been super motivated on just money,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's relationships trump transactions all day, every day.
Mm-hmm.
And so we do a lot. We try to send birthday cards with like brownies and stuff for their birthdays,
Mm-hmm.
for their home anniversaries. At least once a quarter. We try to do a little more than that, but at least once a quarter we do a client appreciation event with movies. We're doing one for Cinco de Mayo. We
Sure.
have lots of contacts in
Yep.
the Latin community, so we'll have really, really good food,
Mm-hmm.
fun time, fun games, and it's just they're at the end of the day, like, yeah, they're clients and yeah, they're people who do transactions with us, but they're people, and a lot of the ones I get to work with are really good people.
Sure.
So it's not even like, hey, we have to do this, or we get to do it, and it's a lot of fun.
Because you actually get to, and I love that. I think that's what really any business, I mean, real estate obviously, but any business, I think when you can really help people, that's what matters, right? I mean, because again, what the world's made up of is people,
Sure.
and you want to, you're trying to show people you do care because you genuinely do care, right? And you're trying to help them. Obviously, you do make money in the process, but the goal is to help them, and then money comes, I guess, So the first and foremost goal is that, right? And then the money comes. So, I'll put you on the spot here, but
Probably the hardest thing for me in this industry is sometimes when we have to work with less professional people. And I know
Okay.
you deal with it on the mortgage side quite a bit as well.
Yes, we do. Yep.
But there was a deal that we were moving very, very quickly. It was a cash deal for my clients, and we were doing a home inspection.
Okay.
And the inspector and my client were there a bit early, and they're trying to get into the place, and the agent, we had already set everything up. I mean, we had already planned everything out, but the inspector usually goes like an hour and a half before we do the walkthrough with the client, and he couldn't get in. And my client went over there, and I went over there, and there was a pit bull that was just hanging out in the house, barking at everyone.
Yeah. You're
And I was like, well, so we called the agent, and she's like, oh yeah, sorry about that. I'm down in Vernal, so we really can't take care of it. And we had like a day or two for our due diligence. We didn't have time to reschedule.
Yeah.
We had barely edged out the deal. So I had and I'm not sure if this is good for dogs or not. I have a dog, so I had a bag of like Pyro Booty in my car. So so I grabbed a handful and just like put my hand through the door and just like threw one to see if the dog liked it. And seemed like it did, so I just I threw him in until we put him into a room. It was like one of the bedrooms there, and just put him in there, closed the door, and said, "All right, let's do the inspection now." So that was
awesome.
That was scary for sure, but Pirate Booty saved the day.
Pirate Booty, I like it. That's awesome. Well, pit bulls can be scary sometimes. So them and German shepherds, I gotta be careful. Well, that's awesome. Okay, well. Any last thoughts? Any other things that we didn't cover? I guess as far as your business and stuff like that you wanted to cover.
Yeah, no, I mean, we try to help out wherever we can, regardless. I'm not sure who all listens to this, but whether it's other agents or other agents or people looking to invest or anyone else out there, I'm always happy to help wherever I can. Even if it's just a quick phone call. We don't. Again, relationships over transactions. I don't look to get anything out of it. Typically we try to provide a lot of value, and I think nature or God or the universe or whoever takes care of the rest.
Love it. Okay. Thanks, Terry. Thanks for coming on. Thanks everybody else for listening, and we'll see you next week.